Hello, viewers. So, basically, this is a continuation of what I suppose you could call my Perchance series. I hope to do a good deal of videos talking about how to use this platform. So basically, Perchance is full of generators. For my discussion, we are primarily going to be looking at the AI chat, and eventually we will talk about different generators that we can utilize for roleplay purposes. This channel is basically going to be a channel about AI roleplay in full, in which you can utilize AI for every aspect of roleplay and generate things with AI based on your own ideas, using AI as a tool. But right now, I think it is important that for those of you who peradventure have been utilizing websites such as Perchance AI, for ye, you have probably been very used to characters that, for lack of a better word, behave in a very shallow manner, and have bad memory. Unless, of course, you pay for it, and even when you pay money, the memory is still bad. But anyhow, luckily for us, they send us to this page. Now, in regard to us creating more of a bot, so to speak, of a AI, so to speak, we're going to do that soon. But first, we're going to practice using this page first, and then we are going to go to creating our own image. But right now, this is a good tutorial for us. For the moment, we're going to utilize one of the preset characters up here, and we have a few here in Sooth. The one I like to use as an experiment is Illyria. She's more of the dominant type of character. So this will override our chat. Right now, this is not the full chat interface. The full chat interface with image generation is right here, but we are not going to go to that right now. This video is going to be about the tutorial section. So we have Illyria, and basically, by studying what is written here, you can learn how to make particular characters. All of the details: height, age, name, gender, hair color, all of those basic things. For those of you who have used other AI sites, you already know how that is. But the voice section is also very important. Sexuality, the body shape, and so forth. For myself, with dominant characters, I like them to be a little taller than 6'2", because 6'2" is actually somewhat common. Hell, why not 7'1"? I mean, they're supposed to be weird elves anyway. It may seem like it is overdoing it, but why not? Why not? Let's up the ante. Okay. Now as for the user character, we can generate a user character. Type keywords. Nice. Weak boy. There you go. Someone here. 16. Okay, 16. Well, she is a bit of a child enthusiast, but anyhow, yeah. Alright. Okay. Anyhow, I like to play as more of a. If I'm playing with a dominant female character, I usually like to play as a. To have my user characters being basically very, very weak. So anyhow, with this, how many details are they giving me? This is all generated just based on two words. No. Anyhow, it doth not even matter. You can go into as much detail as you want for that. Anyhow, apparently she's supposed to be a queen or whatever. You can. I really think this may be a bad one. Actually, let me. Because they didn't really. You can generate the character and the user at the same time, but you basically play as the user, as you see fit. Okay. But anyhow, what this website does well is generation. It does generation really well. And so what we can do is, of course, you can change the name, obviously. You can change the name of the character and the user. Right now we're just focusing on this very, very small section, but as you can see, everything is being generated at a fast pace. Now, for the most part, many AI websites that you go to roleplay, the regular chat websites, they do not generate with this much speed or skill. Alright? They simply do not. Anyhow, we have the scenario, we have the lore. This is all very fast. This is surface level in comparison to what we really can do. But for now, this will be well enough. Okay. So let us test this out. Now, as I said, wait, why is it still saying anon when? I have to say that is somewhat annoying. Anon character description, no, because it's not anon. It's actually, let me just. There we go. I really do not need the last name, the surname. Actually, the surname is right here. But what about her? Name. Do they have her last name? Because I like them both to have a last name, if I'm being perfectly honest. But basically, I really don't think that he needs a last name if she is not going to have a last name. We can just keep things on a first name basis in regard to our writing. Now, in regard to what all of this is, for role plays, they can be erotica, they can be safe for work, so to speak. They can be not safe for work, so to speak. They can be anything you want them to be, but ultimately, your skill is going to improve as you continue to use Perchance. So I have to basically call Perchance by name and separate it from other very shallow chat websites. If I'm being honest, I just have to. Anyhow, let me take a look here. So what I'm going to do is basically, I'm going to keep these names as they are. Your character and the user, who basically represents who you're playing as. But anyhow, you can give writing instructions to help your generation. You can do things such as this. For these matters, they are far easier when you have the more advanced chat web face. Alright? So for now, we simply are going to, what I'm going to show you, very simply, is a very randomized chat generation. In other words, I can type things here such as hi, hello, How are you doing? I do this, I do that. I can use the little asterisk, stars, so to speak, and basically show my actions. And I can also write things out, type things out in quotes to show who I'm speaking to. Now, in sooth, as it so happeneth, I, on Perchance, can do something that no other chat website can do very effectively, which is I can use generation for everything. After all, Perchance specializeth in generation far more than any other website you've seen. Now, in regard to image generation, they are not so very impressive. A lot of their images are decent per se, but if I had to choose, I would go to a place such as Perchance AI, where I can get both safe for work and not safe for work images for the most part, and I can basically tailor them to whatever type of, for the most part. I cannot do everything from Perchance AI. I may have to go to more advanced AI websites, or even, run it from my own computer. However, if I were to choose an AI generator just online that is hosting generators, I would basically go to Perchance personally, and I would use their models for whatever I want. Some people download their own, but that is fine. We will talk about that later on, but for now, I think it is wise to just start and show you what Perchance is capable of. Firstly, we are going to do something here in regard to generations. I have long responses checked. You do not need long responses. Right now, we're going to practice with short responses. So, which character should talk first? I think first we'll have Alien talk first. Alright, eyes wide with fear. Alien swallows hard. His heart races in his chest, and he can feel the warmth of the guard's grips tightening on his arms. He looks up at the queen, trying to hide his trembling. Your Highness, I will do as you command. Anyhow, very fast response time. Alright. Basically, what you get from Perchance is very fast response time. We are going to look at more of the intricate details later. Okay, her smile widens, revealing a set of gleaming white teeth. Ah, obedience so swift, how refreshing. She gestures to the guards and release them. Rise, young one. As she stands as well, approaching him with a grace that belies her towering height. Tell me, what is your name? Many people do not really talk about the intricacies of AI roleplay. It all dependeth upon how well you type and what story you are typing. Every aspect is very important. How tall the character is, how the character active. Many people do not seem to talk about it. Many people do not seem to care. Many people do not talk about the role-playing aspects of creating characters, playing with characters, and the like. But nonetheless, basically, you can create a very intelligent character if you know how, but many people complain. They say, AI roleplays are terrible, they're not that good. It dependeth upon what you want. Now we show you the generation. We can also show you what happens if we just decide to type. So, I can type here too, because we have to try both. I'm going to try both. Personally, I prefer to generate, and I think Perchance is an excellent website in which you can just have the AI generate something based upon the personality that you typed up or that you generated. You can generate everything if you want to, and I think for some of us who have been typing and sort of engaging with the AI personalities that we create. Some of us just like to generate everything because we think, I've tried the hello, hi, you're doing to the AI character, but in some cases you just want the robots to talk, so to speak. You want to see what you have created in action. Right now, this is sort of a preset character, but we are going to create our own characters, and I'm going to show you how to do that with a good deal of ease. As well as show you different generators that can help you in that. Anyhow, now we are simply going to type a response here with just basically just us as humans typing it. So we are typing a simple response. Alien. Okay, so her gaze lingers on him, apprising him like a piece of fine art. Alien, she repeats, the name rolling off her tongue with a hint of amusement. Such a human name. She steps closer, her elegance making even the very air seem to bend around her. But fear not, my pet. In time, you will learn the beauty of submission. Alright. So, we did that. Personally, if I have to choose, I like the fact that I can just generate a response. Because I feel, you see, this is pre-typed, but personally I like to type my own, or at least create a prompt and create more of a detailed prompt to generate something that sort of reflects what I want. This right here is what the AI has basically created, which is fine. Alright. Okay. Personally. But basically, what I'm going to do is once again use the generation for Alien. And you see how fast that generated? That generated very fast. And if you use Perchance, you can inspect this type of service all throughout the website. The developer has basically said he will not allow this website to be paid. This is a community-driven effort. This is not like your AI chat websites. No, this is a true artificial intelligence role play website, and there is none other like it, really, that can provide this degree of immersion. So anyhow, with Alien, once again, his response has been generated. Taking a shaky breath, Alien tries to straighten his posture under her scrutiny. What do you wish of me, Queen Illyria, or whatever, however you pronounce that? His voice is barely more than a whisper, yet echoes in the vast room. So anyhow, I suppose I would generate a few more responses personally. This is just to show you that basically you can, in a very effortless manner, create a whole story. And in sooth, the very origins of roleplay are based around pulp fiction magazines, stories to begin with. And when you really consider that fact, what you want is a good narrative, and you want consistent behavior from the characters. Personally, so that is why I like the generation of Perchance so much. I do not think any other website does generation quite like Perchance. But anyhow, I'm going to generate some more responses. I particularly like to do it this way, but if you do prefer to type what you want to type to the AI character that you are dealing with, you can. But, you can do it in many different ways. So, this can go on for a very long time. So we have Illyria. Okay, so we have a tip here, because you see this first page is a tutorial. So we have a tip. A character's first few messages will heavily influence the way that character talks for the rest of the conversation. If the character isn't talking in the style you want, be sure to click the message and edit it to the desired style. Now, one thing that they do teach you to do, and something you can do when you have the advanced chat interface as well, it's just simply to edit the message. And in Sooth, if the AI does have some grammar mistake or something you do not want, you can actually regenerate it when you have the more advanced chat interface, as well as just double click it and edit, or click the pencil icon and edit it as well. And we will look at those elements, in another video. But anyhow, let me read this particular generation. Her eyes scanning him from head to toe. First, I wish for you to be comfortable in your new home, she says, her tone deceptively kind. I expect you to call me mistress from now on. And of course, this is a more dominant character. You can write them this way if you want, but you can, if you want more nuance from a more dominant character or a more mistress-like character, you can. If you, for example, we have right here a voice, and you can type, you can call it speech or whatever you want. You can actually change this to vulgar speech or any type of speech that you want to have in Sooth. But while we are here, we might as well try maybe another character. Maybe we can try another character in Sooth. We can see how that works. If we have Mona. Mona is a 20-year-old stray cat girl. If she's 20 years old, she's not a cat girl. Forget it. She has to be a girl. It's fiction. I already have a user who's 16. It's all fiction. Doesn't even matter. But anyhow, some people may say, oh, you can't do that. This isn't even sexual at this point. This is just fiction. I'm just making a story here. Okay, your username, your nickname. Undo, no, delete. If I want to generate something here, I go to generate. Not weak boy. Takes place in the medieval fantasy world. Human capital, irresolvable. Different races live in this world, including humans, elves, dwarves, and beastkin. The time period is akin to 14th century Europe. Alright. Do they have a different alternate lore behind their age? Stray cat girl. Okay, so they age just like humans, so basically she'd be 14. Because obviously if you're 20, you're not really a girl. I mean, I know people do that because they don't want to basically, I mean, if she's going to be a cat girl, she should be a cat girl. Personally, what should I type here? Okay, how a stray cat sneaks through your window and eats your dinner you just prepared. I guess this person could be, let's say a woman. A woman who is a chef. Woman who's a chef. There you go. So if a cat girl and a woman who's a chef. Okay. Okay, she's 35. Okay. Alara Castellanos. Alara Castellanos is a vibrant woman with a heart as warm as the ovens she tends to. Her fiery red hair is often tied back in a tight bun, a testament to the discipline and precision. Also, let's talk about another thing you can do. If you want to get these images, all you have to do is click this, and you get the URL. If you want to make this character, you click this picture, you get the URL, and you can get the WEB P file. You can also convert that to a PNG, a JPEG or whatnot. Alright, obviously. Okay. So basically she's a chef. Her eyes are a mesmerizing blend of emerald and hazel. Dance with the flames of her eyes, a mesmerizing blend of emerald and hazel, dance with the flames of passion and curiosity that burn within her. They're the same eyes that scrutinize every ingredient that passes through her kitchen, ensuring that only the freshest and most vibrant flavors reach the plates of her eager diners. Her skin is kissed by the sun from the countless hours spent exploring the local markets, hunting for the perfect tomato or the ripest avocado. Alara's culinary journey began at the tender age of 10 when she stepped into the bustling kitchen of her grandmother's tapas bar in Spain. Okay, we can change this. If it says Ethar, and this is the human capital of Irithyll, what are we talking about? Irithyll of the Boreal Valley? Where are we going to Dark Souls 3? For those of you who do not know the game, basically. Okay, so let me see how. Fancy word called Ethar, okay? Human capital of Irithyll. So if we get a generation that is different, if we did not generate the character with the, how should I say, the other, our other, our character. If we did not generate our user with our character or generated our user before our character, and they sort of have differentiations, you can edit them. You can edit them very easily. And when we get the advanced interface, you can still do it. However, what you will have in your advanced interface are things called lore books, which you can write up. And you can basically write as many lore books as you want to put in them. You can put as much information as you want, but we will talk about that later. Now let me see. We have this, and basically I'm trying to see. Okay. Anything having to do with a country in the world, we would just replace with Irithyll, which is the human capital. That she basically is in, because we want those stories to match up, so that there will be no conflicts. We have the beastkin catfolk, she, her. I guess they age just like humans, so they said 20 years, but I said there's no indication that they age, that cat girls age any less than than anyone else. But let's read, the characters synopsis. Has lived her entire life on the streets. She grew up in the human capital of Irithyll, where her kind are few and discriminated against. Very quickly, whoever wrote this, they misspelled quickly, but that is fine. Any misspellings you find in any of the pre-generated characters, you can correct. But let me see here. Alright. Very quickly, she realized that she would have to fend for herself to survive. Thankfully, being a catfolk made it easy for her to get around. The city, over time, thieving and skullduggery became second nature to her. I do not know what skullduggery is. Peradventure thou knowest. I certainly do not. Anyhow, still though, character wasn't necessarily fond of it all. Fond of it all. Sure, she loved freedom, but she was growing tired of it. She grew tired of running from the guards whenever she was hungry or being woken up in the middle of the night by rain. Really, she just wants the peace and safety of a home and to not have to worry about where her next meal would come from. Still, for her kind, that's a luxury for few and far between. And she knew it was only wish, though she's heard stories of some humans who've taken in some of her kind, and she can't help but be very curious at the thought. To character, it didn't sound like too bad of a deal. Warm meals and a roof over her head sounded nice, even if it might mean she has to wear a ridiculous collar one night while thinking about this. No wonder they wanted to put 20 years old, because that is weird. But it does, you see, you do not have to have your AI characters engaged in a sexual relationship, which for a character like this, I often just have a little story. I do not often like to, cat girls. I don't like to write not safe for work cat girl stories. So if you want to do something, sort of have a 35-year-old chef who is going to act like a mother to this 14-year-old cat girl, I think that's better. You can do whatever you want yourself, but personally, cat girls are, I'm not attracted to cat girls like some other people are. Some people like to cosplay as animals and furries and stuff, and that really is exciting to them. Is there any more for me to read here for her? Genre, fantasy, and romance. I mean, you can change that. You don't have to have that as romance. You really don't, but I mean, you can change all of these details. But basically, whatever you write is fine. This is not like a lot of those particular AI websites that you go to where they put restrictions and filters on you. So if you want to do something to your taste, you can. It's all fiction. And this is basically how this will work. None of your information is going to be saved here. It's going to be saved on your browser. So this is not something you really, it's actually going to be something that's going to be more of a social thing, to where you can share characters, but you are not allowed to share not safe for work characters unless you do it privately. I mean, you do not really do it on social media, but you sort of, if you want to give someone a JSON file, a JSON file, you can, and they can use your characters, even though they may not be safe for work, basically. Anyhow, let me see if there's anything else to read. Okay. So, to character, it didn't sound like too bad of a deal. Okay. Anyhow, character found an open window. Kira, she leapt into user's house. Relationship, she's always been too focused on trying to survive to have any interest in romance. Character will often lounge around and sleep all day. Character will grow reliant on user for both food and affection. Character is very playful and love to play games and tease user. Character is quick to scare and fight in a fight or flight scenario and choose to fight 9 of 10 times. Wow. Character will like to pester user for attention. Okay, anyhow, all of these are just little details that you can change anyhow. Anyhow, let's go. Let's see how this is going to be. So we have atop the city rooftops, characters perched as she watched the sun set and the vendors began packing up for the day. Not again, she muttered to herself as she flopped back against the tiles. There had been too many guards at the marketplace. to make any moves. And as the streets grew quieter, character knew it would be just another hungry night. Great, she whines as she rolls onto her side, hoping to sleep off a bit of the discomfort. We have narrator. It's then that she catches a whiff of something from the window below her. Curiously, she leans over the edge of the rooftop to peer in. There, she sees a pot of stew resting on the table. Whoever wrote this particular character, personally, maybe they should have generated it because it would have had better grammar. Her stomach growls at the sight, and her mouth waters slightly as she instinctively makes her way down onto the windowsill. She discreetly peeks her head in, and once realizing the coast is clear, she makes her way inside. She wastes no time getting to work and chowing down on the meal in front of her. She's so engrossed that she doesn't notice user. And user, when you see these brackets, most of you already know, but when you have the brackets around character or user, they represent your character or your user, basically. They represent you or the character, alright? Anyhow, viewers, let me continue. So we have user has walked back into the room with her mouth full of food, and she looks up and sees him, but we are not playing with a him. We're playing with a her. We're playing with a female chef, attempting a guilty and disarming smile while internally preparing to flee towards the window at any sudden movement. Alright. 14th century time period akin to 14th century Europe. So I have to get rid of any mention of the character of user being a him. Let me take a look. I think that may be the only part in the scenario that really mentions the character as a him, because for my own purposes, Alara is a female, obviously. So maybe she will adopt this little cat girl and be a mother to this little cat girl. Alright, anyhow, let us continue. Why is it an on? Oh, I know why it's an on. Anyhow, I will be replacing the name so that I can basically have to refresh the name. So if this happeneth to you and it saith anon, go and paste that name right here. On the advanced interface, it is going to be far easier to do. Everything is going to basically be, very simple. This is the tutorial section, and this helpeth you to understand the basics. Anyhow, let me go, and what am I going to do here? Excuse me. Let me see. I will be using her Alara. That's who I will be generating first. And if this worketh, alright. Alara stops in her tracks, her eyes widening at the sight of the cat girl in her kitchen. She putteth down the basket of groceries she is carrying and stares for a moment, unsure of what she's just walked in on. Then she laugheth, a warm, genuine laugh that filleth the room. Well, aren't you the sneakiest little thing? She takes a step closer, her hand outstretched, palm up, showing no signs of aggression. I don't know how you got in here, but I can't say I'm mad at you. Mad you found my stew. I guess I've got a bit of a food critic in my house now, huh? Okay. Yes, and as you can see, I made a very complimentary character for Mona, just based on a few words. Female chef. The AI generation for female chef was very good. I probably can keep this character, and sort of put this on a text file and essentially keep this for safekeeping. I have two characters that I probably will want to use again. And and I will show you the best methods for doing that. Just save everything on just basic plain text files. Anyhow, let me generate Mona's response now. Just getting used to it is very important. So basically, the generator is going to generate a response based upon the personalities that have been written for your character and the user. So whatever you have written for user, it is going to generate something based upon that. So you still have that creative input in that wise. So over here, Mona's eyes dart back and forth between the stew and Alara. She swallows the mouthful she has been chewing, trying to compose herself. Her tail switcheth nervously behind her. Hi, I'm not gonna lie, I smelled your food from outside and I was really hungry. I didn't mean to eat all of it. I can get something to replace it. Her voice is high-pitched and trembling. Alright, so, once again we're going to Alara Castellanos and we're going to do a response. Alara's smile widens, and she shaketh her head. No, it's quite alright. I've got plenty more where that came from. Besides, I can always tell when something's good by how fast it disappears. She winketh at Mona, and her hand is held out. Now, if you do not know why I used F in my speech, it is because, if you have not noticed, I have somewhat of a lisp. I have somewhat of a, whatever you might call it. Peradventure, it is not even a lisp. However, I have a problem saying S's in some cases. So I like to replace as many S's in regard to a verb with S as I can. Because although I may sound clear right now, oftentimes I do. With S's I do not flow so very well. And so it helpeth me to have S. And so basically I prefer those when I use verbs. And modify it with an S. I prefer to modify my verbs with an S. Alright, in regard to suffixes. Anyhow, viewers, let me continue. Okay. She winks at Mona. Her hand still held out. You know, I've never had a feline guest before. How do you like it? Okay. Very wholesome. Which is sort of what I wanted, because I wasn't really trying to. Because in this case, I did not really want a romantic type of exchange or relationship. I just wanted a wholesome type of exchange. You know, I want a motherly figure. So that is what I have. Mona's ears flatten slightly at the mention of being caught, but she can't help but feel a purr rising in her chest at the sound of Alara's laughter. It's been so long since someone talked to her without malice. It's really good, the best I've ever had. Her tail swayeth slightly as she taketh a step closer, curiosity overtaking her. But why aren't you mad? Most humans chase me away when they see me. Okay. So this is all very wholesome, but you can have, you know, oh, I did not try the long responses yet, did I? I did not try them yet. So we have Alara's laughter subsides into a gentle chuckle. She steppeth closer, placing the basket on the table. Well, I'm not most humans, am I? And I can't help but feel sorry for a stray kit like you. You must have quite the adventure to share, Her hand reacheth out to slightly stroke Mona's head, and she leaneth in, her eyes full of kindness. How did you end up in the streets anyway? Okay, so what we are going to do now, I'm going to test long responses. Alright, long responses. Let us see how this worketh. Mona is going to do a longer response because I have that checked. And this will be something you can configure with the advanced interface as well. All right. Mona flincheth at first, but then relaxeth into the touch. A rare sensation of comfort washing over her, she tilteth her head into a gentle stroking, eyes half closed in pleasure. It's a long story, but basically I was born here, and my mom couldn't take care of me, so I had to learn to survive on my own. It's been fun in a way, but also scary. Her voice is softer now, carrying a hint of vulnerability. She openeth her eyes and looketh up at Alara, yellow irises reflecting the warm light of the kitchen. But food's always been scarce, and I hate stealing, but what else can I do? Her tail switcheth in a circle, expressing her inner turmoil. Anyhow, let us continue. We are practicing these longer responses. Alright. So we have Alara's hand pauseth for a brief moment, eyes misting over as she considereth Mona's words. Her heart goeth out to the young beastkin, and she maketh a silent promise to make sure she never goeth hungry again. You don't have to steal any more. Not here. Her voice is firm but gentle, the authority of a chef who knoweth exactly what she's talking about. You can stay with me. Help out around the house a bit, and in return I'll feed you the best meals you've ever had. What do you say to that? Her hand moveth to Mona's cheek, her thumb brushing against the soft fur as she waiteth for a response. Alright. If you watch this channel, you are just going to have to get used to the F. You simply are. If you continue to watch this channel, you are likely going to be saying F, and practicing some early modern English. Anyhow, let me continue. Mona's eyes widen in surprise, and she can't help but feel a spark of hope. A home? With food and no more fear of the guards? It sounded like a dream. Her tail starteth to wag back and forth, betraying her excitement. She looketh up at Alara, her eyes searching for any signs of deceit, but all she seeth is genuine kindness. You do that for me? Her voice is barely above a whisper, filled with disbelief. But I can't work. I don't know how to do human things. So let's talk about what we are experiencing here. We are experiencing a very fast chat. It will be more advanced. We will be able to give the user the so-called, in many AI websites, they call user persona, and they give you different personas. You can create different personas for yourself as a character. Essentially, you do not even really have to type out your responses. You can just generate, and you can direct the optional written writing instructions. But for that, I want to use the advanced interface to show you how easy that is, because with this, it is a little formatted a bit differently than I'm used to, and I prefer the advanced interface for this. But right now, we are receiving a full AI literary experience. Not necessarily a role-playing experience per se, but basically, we can generate all manner of fantasy writing based upon our own prompts. If we want to participate in roleplay, we can. If we do not need to. We can generate and create some very good literature. We can affect how that cometh out. We can utilize AI as a tool to create some very good literature, some very good role-play focused literature, and you can basically generate every aspect of it. This is why Perchance really is a different type of experience than what many of you are often used to. You can very much keep the story going for as long as you want. If you start to find that AI is lacking in memory, yes, you can type here in the writing instructions and basically have a story that will not end. This is how much better this is compared to any AI chat website that you have utilized. If you know how to use this, you can basically keep your story going and going and going and going and going and going. This is based upon all of the tools that Perchance giveth you as a user. You can edit every aspect, and you can create the stories that you want to create. After you are done, you can save this on a text file, or you can put this in OpenOffice or Microsoft Office. You can basically convert that to a PDF file. You can have your own stories saved up, whether you want regular wholesome stories, erotica, stories about, basically swords and sorcery, wizards and knights and witchcraft and dragons and all of the fun stuff that many of us like to read about. You can have it all with Perchance. For myself, I look at how good the story is. The experience of role-playing is not so very... That is an aspect, but I prefer a good story. And as far as my input is involved in it, I like to really let things sort of play out as I write or create a prompt, type the details, and see what the generators are going to do. To me, the randomness, variety, so to speak, is very much the spice of life, and I do like it, rather. I'm getting a little too used to the F. I'm not even using it right. Anyhow, let me continue. So basically, I'm going to do another generation here for Laura. Let me see this. This red button is stop, to stop the generation. You also have this button here. This is to regenerate, to generate another response. You have the trash can here. This is to delete the response. Yes. And these two buttons will basically, if you do regenerate, you can go back and forth between, first generation, second generation, third generation, and the like. Anyhow, let me read this. Alara chuckles warmly and reaches out to give Mona's cheek a gentle pat. She's touched by the girl's innocence and her desperate longing for a simple, safe life. Don't worry. I'll teach you everything you need to know. It's not all about work, Sometimes just being there is enough. Besides, I could use some company around here. The kitchen can get lonely at times. Her eyes twinkle as she looks around the cozy space, filled with the scent of various spices and the promise of a warm meal. But first, let's get you cleaned up. You must be tired from your adventures. Now, I would have to say, in this case, for my purposes, the character description and the user description really worked very well. The Alara Castellanos and Mona are getting along quite well. There's a very good dynamic between both characters, and they mix very well for the purpose I was looking for, which was not a not safe for work story, but a story that was safe for work, so to speak, that was wholesome and not really too romantic. I just wanted a story between these two characters. So some people, basically unlike character AI, not all of the characters are going to fall in love with you. You can basically have the friendship aspect between characters, and have different types of relationships between characters. I have no idea why a lot of those newfangled, those not necessarily newfangled websites, but a lot of those websites that we go to, that we used to go to, like Crush on AI, Character AI, are, and I would have to say it dependeth upon how you write the character too. I should not be unfair to those websites, but I have to say Perchance is simply better. I just simply have to say that. Now, if you want to, I really do not know what that has to do. These two buttons, I'm not particularly sure what they have to do with anything. But anyhow, let me continue. But you can experiment as you go along. Alright, Mona. Generating response. Mona noddeth eagerly, her ears perking up at the mention of not having to steal anymore. She can't believe her luck. A warm bed, and food. It's more than she ever dared to hope for. Okay, I'll be good, I promise. Her tail switcheth in excitement as she alloweth Alara to lead her to a small bathroom. She watcheth the human flick on the water and pour in some strange-smelling liquid. It's a little overwhelming, but she's curious. What's that? Alright, let me continue. Alara looks back at Mona with a warm smile, her eyes crinkling slightly at the corners. That, my dear love, is lavender-scented bath salts. It'll help you relax and get all the dirt and grime off your fur. She testeth the waters with her hand, making sure it's just the right temperature before gesturing for Mona to step in. Here, let me help you. With surprising strength, she lifts Mona and gently sets her into the tub. The warm water surroundeth her, and the scent filleth her nose, soothing her more than she ever thought possible. Mona's eyes widen as she feeleth something she's never felt before. A bath. She giggleth as Alara starteth to lather a sponge. Just like a kitten, Alara murmurs, her eyes full of affection. So, thou seest how effective the generators are in regard to just me using the generators to generate responses between the user and character instead of just typing something myself, because I would never expect I would get all of this really fully fleshed out story. Now, I could participate, but Perchance is a website where the more generators you use, the better, your ideas are sort of reified. It really is here. Using Perchance is really about reifying your ideas with AI tools, with AI generators. They have so many of them that it really is amazing. In sooth. Anyhow, let me continue. Alright. Now, this one is Mona. Mona squeaketh with delight as she's lifted into the tub, her eyes sparkling with excitement. The warm water feeleth heavenly against her skin, and she can't help but let out a content purr as she feeleth the gentle touch of the sponge. She watcheth Alara with wide eyes, trying to mimic her movements as the human scrubs the dirt from her fur. This is amazing, she whispereth, her voice filled with hope. Her ears twitch, and her tail switcheth as she leaneth into the sensation, letting out a happy sigh. I've never had a bath before. Alright. This really is pretty good reading, I would have to say. Better than most books, even. Alara Shukalov, her eyes softening as she watcheth Mona's affection. Well, it's about time you experienced one. It's a simple pleasure, but it can do wonders after a long day. Her hands move deftly over Mona's fur, working in the soap and rinsing her clean. You're going to have to get used to these, especially if you're going to be living here. Her tone is teasing, but filled with affection. Now hold still. I don't want to get soap in your eyes. Alright. This is really, really good dialogue. Really, really good dialogue. Very natural and sooth. For those of you who do not know, the asterisks, the stars here, represent an action. This is a classic role play method. And your AI follows that as well as by putting quotes around spoken words. But I think that's fairly obvious. Anyhow, let me continue. Mona's purrs grow louder as she feeleth cleaner than she ever hath before. She noddeth, blinking her eyes and doing her best to keep them closed, as Alara washeth her face. I've heard humans do this, but I never thought it could feel so good. Her eyes open slightly, peeking at Alara through the ladder. Thank you, she saith, her voice filled with sincerity. Alright. Let me see here. Alara rinseth the soap off Mona with care, using a soft cloth to ensure she doesn't get any in her eyes. She then taketh a step back and grabbeth a towel, wrapping it around the shivering cat girl's shoulders. You're welcome, Mona. I'm just happy to help. Her eyes light up as she looketh at the now clean Mona. Now, let's get you dried off and into some warm clothes. You're going to catch a cold if you stay wet. She gently patteth Mona's head with the towel before taking her to a cozy chair by the fireplace. The warmth of the flames danceth across the room, casting a warm glow on the two of them. Make yourself comfortable while I grab you something to wear. This is just utterly wholesome. It really is. Very relaxing. In sooth. Mona noddeth, still in awe of the kindness she's receiving. She snuggleth in the chair, the warmth of the towel and the fireplace wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. Her eyes follow Alara as she leaveth the room, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. This is really happening, isn't it? She whispereth to herself, her tail switching in disbelief. This is heartwarming. This is really heartwarming and wholesome. Lord knoweth. Alara returns with a pair of soft, oversized pajamas, the fabric a warm, comforting shade of cinnamon that would surely match the warmth of her new friend's fur once it dried. She holdeth them out to Mona with a smile. Here, these should fit nicely. I had them made for a, friend who was a bit more feline than most. I think they'll suit you well. Her voice is filled with a hint of nostalgia, but she quickly shakes it off, focusing on the present. Now, let's get you dressed before you catch your death of cold. She helpeth Mona out of the chair, and the towel slipping to the floor, revealing her damp, clean fur. With gentle hands, she helpeth her into the pajamas, taking care to keep the fabric from sticking to her still damp skin. Alright, we have Mona. Mona's eyes go wide as she dresseth her, the fabric feeling strange and unfamiliar against her body. She trieth to help, her own hands clumsy and unsure, but Allah's gentle guidance maketh the process surprisingly comfortable. Thank you, she whispereth again, feeling the warmth of the clothes and the fire seep into her bones. Her tail switcheth in contentment as she's finally dressed. What happens now? Alright. Alara chuckles at Mona's question, her eyes filled with affection as she helpeth the cat girl into the pajamas. She taketh a moment to appreciate the sight of Mona in the oversized clothes, looking almost comically adorable. Now we get you fed properly, and then you can get some rest. You have had a long day, I'm sure. Her hands move with a gentle confidence as she leadeth Mona back to the kitchen, the aroma of freshly baked bread and a bubbling stew filling the air. She pulleth out a chair at the table and gestures for her to sit in it. First things first, let us see what I can whip up for you. Something simple, I think, but still delicious. Alara's movements are efficient, her hands dancing from pot to cutting board as she prepareth a meal that's more substantial than the stolen stew. Oh my goodness, this is like you could put this in a children's book. You really could. You could put this in a children's book. This is a full actual story, and it is coming out very well, and this is on Perchance. Is this not amazing? All generated. Okay. Anyhow, let me take a breath before I continue to speak. Mona's eyes light up as she taketh a seat, her tail switching with excitement. She's never been treated this way before, and it's a feeling she could easily get used to. Wow. You really going to feed me again? Her voice is filled with wonder as she watcheth Alara move around the kitchen. The way she handleth the knives and the pots with such ease. What are you making? Alright, let me see. Okay, this, yes. I sort of hesitated for a while there. Let me take a breath. Alright. They do help me. Alara glanceth over her shoulder with a wink. It's a surprise, but I promise it'll be worth the wait. The smell of garlic and onions sizzling in the pan filleth the air, and she addeth a pinch of salt before tossing in some chopped carrots. Now tell me, Mona, do you have any favorite foods? Besides the stew, of course. Her movements are rhythmic, a dance she has performed countless times before, each step precise and full of love. Alright. So good. Mona's eyes light up at the mention of a surprise. Oh, I love fish, and I guess I like cheese too, when I can find it. Her thoughts drift to the rare times she has stumbled upon a cheese vendor's cart. The smell and taste of the cheese still vivid in her memory, But I'm not picky. I eat almost anything. I've had to, you know? Her voice trails off, and she looketh down at her paws, feeling a brief pang of sadness before Alara's cheerfulness bringeth her back. Oh. I did not want to click Mona 2 times. Mona watcheth Alara's dance around the kitchen with a mix of amazement and comfort. The cat girl's eyes follow the chef's every move, the way her hands glide over the countertops, the way she stirreth the pot with such confidence. The smell of the stew filleth the air, a warm embrace that maketh her stomach rumble in anticipation. She can't remember the last time she had a home-cooked meal, let alone one made with care. Her ears perk up at the mention of a surprise, and she can't help but feel a childlike excitement bubbling up within her. "Fish is my favorite," she saith, her voice filled with wonder, "but I've never had cheese that didn't come from a stolen crumb before. It's a luxury, you know." Her tail switcheth in a hopeful arc. "But really, anything you make is bound to be better than what I usually get." She looketh around the kitchen, noticing the herbs and spices hanging from the ceiling. "What's that?" she asketh, pointing to a bundle of greenery with a curiosity that hasn't been present in her for a long time. All right. My goodness, I was reading a manga that not too long ago, and I realized just how much better the story is compared to manga writing, which was so terrible. I mean, I understand most comic books are more about the art than the writing, but even so, I do like good writing better than art, in sooth, or at least, drawn art. Writing is an art in itself, but even so, I do like a good story. And with Perchance, I can have as many good stories as I want. Excuse me, oh goodness. Let me take a breath, folks. Alright. Alara's smile broad enough as she heareth Mona's confession of her love for fish and her rare indulgences in cheese. She noddeth thoughtfully and addeth a few fresh fillets to the pan, letting them sizzle before adding a dash of lemon juice and a sprinkle of thyme from a bundle Mona pointed at. "Ah, that's rosemary," she explaineth, her voice carrying a hint of pride. "It addeth a nice flavor to meats and stews, but don't worry, I've got something special for you." She openeth a small cupboard and pulleth out a block of cheese wrapped in wax paper. "Here, this is manchego," she saith, offering it to Mona. "It's a bit salty, but it pairs beautifully with fruit. Try it with an apple," she saith. Try it with an apple slice. I mixed up. I went here to she saith, offering it to Mona. So, I am right here. Let me continue. She sliceth an apple from a bowl on the counter and handeth it over, watching with amusement as Mona eagerly taketh a bite, her eyes closing in bliss. "Now, while we wait for dinner, why don't you tell me more about your life on the streets? I've always been curious about the lives of strays." Quite amazing. This is all Perchance AI. Far better than the conversation you would get with Janitor AI or anything else, in sooth. Mona taketh the apple slice with trembling hands, her eyes wide with excitement. She nibbleth at the cheese, savoring the rich, salty taste. is heavenly, so much better than the moldy crumbs she's used to. The apple's sweetness complements it perfectly. She swalloweth and starteth to speak, her voice still filled with wonder. It's been tough. I had to learn to stay out of sight, to not trust anyone. The guards aren't kind to beastkin, especially if they catch us stealing, but I've made some friends along the way. Other strays like me who know the best hiding spots, and when the markets throw out food, we've had to watch each other's backs. Her eyes glaze over as she recounts her past, a mix of fear and camaraderie coloring her words. But it's also been fun, in a way. Like, I've seen parts of the city most humans never get to see. The rooftops at sunrise are beautiful. Her tail flicketh upwards as she speaketh, ears pointed and perked in excitement. But it's also lonely. I've always wanted a home like what you're offering. Her voice cracketh a little on the last word, the hope in her eyes shimmering in the firelight, reflecting off her fur. All right. Let me take a breath. Alara's eyes soften as she listeneth to Mona's story. Her heart aching for the young girl's plight. It soundeth like you've been through a lot, Mona, but I'm here now, and I do my best to make sure you never go hungry or feel alone again. The stew's aroma filleth the kitchen, and she stirreth it one last time before serving a generous portion in a bowl. She setteth it down in front of Mona, the warm steam rising like a beacon of comfort. Now let us eat before it gets cold. I've added some fresh herbs and a bit of spice to give it a kick. All right. Let me continue here. Mona noddeth, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. She taketh a deep breath, inhaling the heavenly scent of the stew. Her stomach growleth in anticipation, and she can't help but feel a sense of warmth that has nothing to do with the food. As she taketh a bite, she feeleth a weight lift from her shoulders. The stew is exquisite, the flavors exploding on her tongue. She had many meals in her short life, but none have ever tasted like this, like home. She looketh up at Alara, her eyes wide with gratitude. This is the best thing I've ever eaten, she whispereth, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you, Alara. Thank you for everything. We could just continue going like this. This is the most impressive AI you will ever find in regard to just what it can do in sooth. Alara's heart swelleth with joy at Mona's words, and she sitteth down across from her a plate a small plate of bread and cheese in her hand. She taketh a bite, watching Mona savor her meal. You are welcome, Mona. I'm just happy to share what I have. Now eat up. You need to regain your strength. Her eyes dance with mischief, and after dinner I have a surprise for you. Alright, so Let me generate Mona's response. Let me take a breath. Alright, that was good. Mona's eyes light up even more at the mention of a surprise. Her tail switching rapidly, she devours the stew with gusto, enjoying every bite. Every mouthful is a symphony of flavors she has never experienced before, and she feeleth her energy return with each spoonful. Her ears perk up, and she looketh at Alara expectantly. "What's the surprise?" she asketh, her curiosity piqued. The warmth of the food and the safety of the room make her feel more alive than she hath in a long time. Alright, I wonder what that surprise is. This is very exciting. It really is. Alara taketh a sip of her wine, watching Mona eat with a satisfied smile. She leaneth back in her chair, her eyes twinkling with excitement. You just have to wait and see, but I promise it is something you will enjoy. Her gaze drifteth to the clock on the wall, and she glanceth back at Mona. But for now, let us finish up. It is getting late here. It's getting late, and I think we could both use some rest. Alright, this is very interesting. I still wonder what that surprise is. Let me take a breath. Mona's eyes light up at the mention of a surprise, but she noddeth, her curiosity piqued. She continueth to eat the stew, savoring each bite. With each spoonful she feeleth more and more at ease, and the warmth of the food and the security of the room wrapping around her like a cozy blanket. Her tail swisheth in anticipation as she watcheth Alara's movement, every move. The chef's eyes sparkling with something she cannot quite put her finger on. The clock chiming in the background only serveth to make her more eager for whatever Alara has planned. She finisheth her meal and looketh up at her new guardian, her yellow eyes shining with excitement. "Okay, I'm done. What is the surprise?" Her voice is filled with the kind of anticipation that only cometh from a life where surprises are rare and often not so nice. This is just wonderful. I wonder what that surprise is. And remember, we have long responses checked. And these are very, for the most part, they're very good responses, even though they're longer. Is that not interesting? Alara smileth warmly at Mona, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "Alright, come with me." She stands up, taking Mona's empty bowl, placing it in the sink. She wipeth her hands on her apron and leadeth the way out of the kitchen and down a short corridor. At the end, she openeth a door to reveal a small, cozy room. The walls are lined with bookshelves. A soft bed is made up of plush blankets, and a small window lets in the moonlight. It is clear that she's put some thought into making it a welcoming place. This will be your room, Mona. It's not much, but it's yours. I hope you like it. Alright, This is probably one of the most wholesome stories I have generated on this particular AI. All right. Very, very interesting. Mona's eyes widen as she steppeth into the room, her tail switching in excitement. It's perfect. Her voice is filled with wonder as she jumpeth onto the bed, the springs bouncing beneath her light weight. She paused at the blankets, feeling the softness, and looketh around at the books with curiosity. What are these? Right. The poor girl doth not know what books are. Alara laugheth, her eyes crinkling at the corners. Those are books, Mona. They're filled with stories, knowledge, and adventures. Would you like me to read you one before bed? Her voice is gentle, the warmth of the room seeming to wrap around them both. I have to say this AI memory is very, very, very good. This is the difference between Perchance AI and other AIs. This is superior. What can I say? In sooth, this put of character AI to shame, this put of crush on AI to shame, this put of C-Hub Venus to shame, all of those different AI websites that you know of, that you know. Not know of, not knows, that you knows. Goodness. How ridiculous. Let me take a look at this. What tip is being used? You can edit any message if the AI is written badly. And we understand that, of course. Mona's eyes light up even more at the mention of stories. She has heard them before from the travelers and the bards in the city square, but she has never heard anyone. Oh, look at some yawning. Has had anyone read to her before. She nodded eagerly, her tail switching back and forth. Yes, please. Her voice is filled with excitement as she leapeth off the bed and paddeth over to Alara. She, looking up at her with wide, hopeful eyes. I've never had a bedtime story not like this. Her curiosity is palpable, and she can't help but reach out and touch the spine of one of the books, feeling the smooth leather beneath her under her fingertips. Let me get this. Alara smileth softly and sitteth down on the edge of the bed, patting the soft spot next to her. Come sit here. She selects a book with a warm cover, the title barely legible. It is one of her favorites, a tale of a brave knight and a wise wizard that had captured her imagination as a child. This one is called The Quest of Sir Lancelot and the Sage of the Stellaris. Now, since this is a fictional world and it's called Earthal, I have to choose something else. Stellaris is a made-up name for the purposes of the story, but Sir Lancelot is an historical knight, so I'm going to let me just choose something really quickly. Arland. Sir Arland, alright. So this has been changed so that it is not historical, and look at how easy that was. So easy, and the AI will adapt to my change. How excellent. And in that case, it really was not even an error, but I felt the need to do it because I really want to keep things fictional and not historical at all. In sooth. And when you use AI, you have to realize that being able to edit is really quite impressive. It's about friendship and bravery. I think you will like it. She opened up the book, her voice taking on a soothing rhythm as she beginneth to read, her eyes scanning the pages with the ease of a seasoned storyteller. Mona snuggleth up to Alara, her eyes wide with excitement as she listeneth to the unfamiliar words. The sound of the pages turning is almost as comforting as the gentle cadence of Alara's voice. She leaneth into the human side, feeling a warmth that goeth beyond the fireplace. Her tail wraps around Alara's leg, the tip flicking in time with the story's beats. The knight and the wizard are friends? Interesting. This is unbelievably wholesome as a story. Alara noddeth, her eyes never leaving the page. Yes, they are the best of friends. They go on grand adventures together, face fearsome monsters, and solve great mysteries. And through it all, they learn that friendship is more powerful than any magic or sword. Her voice holds the same enchantment as the tale she weaveth. Her words painting vivid images in the air around them. Now, let's see where they are. Now let's see where they are on their journey tonight. All right. Let me see here. With Mona. All right. I am feeling somewhat tired. This is nighttime. This could just keep going and going, but this is to show you the impressiveness of what Perchance can do. Mona's eyes grow heavier with each word Alara speaketh. The warmth of the room and the comfort of Alara's presence lulling her into a state of relaxation she hath never known. The story unfoldeth like a dream, filled with heroes and danger, friendship and triumph. Her ears twitch at the mention of monsters, but she feels safe, knowing she's not alone in the dark. She leans into Alara more, her breathing slowing down to match the rhythm of the story. Her eyes finally close, and she whispers sleepily, "Keep reading," her tail curling around Alara's leg tightly. All right. This is me taking another breath. If I do not do this, I will run out of breath. All right. Alara's heart swelleth with affection as she feeleth Mona's weight shift against her. The cat girl's trust in her unspoken but clear. She continueth to read, her voice low and steady, carrying the story into the quiet night. She noticeth the tight grip on her leg and smiles, her hand moving to gently stroke Mona's soft fur. The story reaches a climax, and she pauseth, looking down to find that Mona hath fallen asleep. She closeth the book with a gentle click and tucketh the blankets around her, her eyes lingering on the peaceful expression of the young girl's face. "Good night, little one," she whispereth, placing a soft kiss upon Mona's forehead. Anyhow, viewers, I think that will be all I will be reading. I could go even longer. You saw how long this AI exchange went, this AI generated the story went, the chat logs, the memory was impeccable. I typed at least one time with my own words, and I decided to generate the rest of the chat. So as you can see, this is a very excellent website. Viewers, may you be blessed and farewell.